Welcome to part 2 of the Reborn podcast. This episode is the second part with my mom. And if you have not listened to episode 1, go ahead and reverse, jump down to the one before this, because there's a lot of stuff leading up to this podcast, episode 2 with my mom. Enjoy. And so you sold the business.
Sold the business.
Uh-huh.
And
that's kind of whenever you started getting into, because you're a trainer as well now. You just kind of started following that passion.
Yes.
And then you got into like the biking and the mountain biking.
Well, yes, because when I was single, you couldn't meet anybody if you just stayed on the farm and mowed with the tractor every weekend. So you
had to go be social and learn how to date again.
Yeah, I'd have to leave the house and get out and try to meet people. And I didn't go to bars. And I met a couple girls that rode bikes.
Yeah.
And I remember Ashley had left. She had left a bike at the house, a road bike, and I had met this guy that wanted to go riding these trails at the park, and I got her bike out. I had to call her, and I said, Ashley, how do you shift this thing? I mean, I did not grow up on bikes. I grew up on horses. And so did they. We did not ride. They didn't own a bike.
Yeah, we never had a bike growing up.
No, we never owned a bike. And I had to call her, and I said, Ashley, I can't shift this bike. How do you shift it? So anyway, I started doing that, trying to get out and meet people. And I met the best guy.
Yeah,
he
Dan.
was a road biker. Yeah, he was a mountain biker actually.
And he's really competitive too.
Yeah, he's
a
very
fire
competitive.
chief.
Yeah,
retired fire chief.
yeah, he was fire captain.
Fire captain.
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
Don't know the
28
terminology.
years. Yeah. He was very
And he's awesome.
Yeah, when I was dating, I was trying to, because I was older, and I was trying to find somebody that could
keep up with you.
and it was interesting. So I met him,
Yeah,
and
he's awesome.
He's awesome. Really got me into mountain biking. He's the one that got me into racing. Probably after a year.
And he's really competitive.
Yeah, and he's. I cannot keep up with him, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the other way around.
And like, when was it? 2 years ago, I got into road biking.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off on this long cycle. I decided to ride for all of the people who were currently fighting cancer, and for the ones who had lost their life to the battle. And I decided to ride my bicycle, my road bike, from Virginia Beach all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma, too close to the hospital where Dad had been diagnosed and, lost his battle with cancer. And I think it could have been day 3, we trekked up the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I had rented an RV. I rented an RV. There were...
Yeah, how many people?
I had 3 other people with me and 1 other cyclist that was with me, kind of like a safety cyclist or whatever. And so we started out, the furthest that I had gone was, I think I've hit like 100, I had hit like 100 miles, close to 100 miles before I started this, crazy bike ride. And that's when the first probably 2 days, I hurt really bad. And we were in the middle of end of June, the beginning of July. It's hot outside.
Very hot.
It is hot. And a lot of it, we were riding down highways, not like turnpikes or anything or toll roads, but we were, I didn't have any coverage. It wasn't like, I think once we got into Tennessee and we had to do like some roads and stuff. And
wasn't it raining a lot? Because I was worried about you riding road bikes on these, crazy curves and hills and rain, just pouring rain.
There were a couple times I remember, and I don't know if this is always good, but I don't know if I want to use the word, I did get a little bit cocky at times riding with cars and thinking
That's how she drives on the highway. Watch her if you come to Virginia Beach. I'm not kidding.
It's called being an aggressive. I was an aggressive cyclist Just like I'm an aggressive driver.
Road driver.
Very,
I don't recommend it.
Mom, I know you're an aggressive driver. You're starting to drive
I'm
like
not.
a grandma a little bit.
Only on my road bike.
Living
or
up
mountain
to
bike.
that senior citizens discount card you're holding. Starting to drive like a grandma.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I would ride. I think I hit anywhere from like 100 to 120 miles a day.
Yeah.
And the hardest was going up the Blue Ridge Mountains for sure. I mean, it was hard. The whole thing was hard. And the first 2 days, my body was really beat up where I started like second guessing myself. I started questioning if I was really going to be able to do it. It was hard. It took a toll on my body, not just mentally, but physically. Riding in the heat every day. And it was a journey that took me, I think it was 12 days. I'd have to go back and look. It was somewhere between 11 and 14 days.
Yeah.
But it was hard. And I think like going out into the unexpected, not really knowing or even having any expectations. I mean, it was very rewarding. It was rewarding. And I noticed as I got over the first probably 2 or 3 days and my body just hurt, that I started getting more powerful and stronger. And it was almost like my body just got better. I don't know if it was because it was like it knew what to expect every day, waking up and going. But I mean, it was tough. Like there was a day, it started getting into probably after day 5, my team that I had started fizzling out.
Yeah.
They started not.
Remember you were calling me.
I did.
Yeah.
I don't know what day it was.
I don't know.
I kind of held it all back. So the team that I had, I mean, the temperatures had to have been like over 100 heat index. I'm cycling over 100 miles a day. And it was almost like, I mean, and to kind of, on their side, like being in an RV, if you haven't experienced something like that, I'm assuming that it can get kind of, I'm trying to see it from their point of view of being in an RV all day. I mean, I'm cycling. The fastest that I could possibly go would have been like 25 miles an hour. And I was probably going, or at least under 30. I was going slow. So you're
right.
Going slow in an RV like 8 hours a day or however long it would take me to complete the mileage that I needed to complete. But I don't know, like as we got past day 3, probably going somewhere between like day 3 and day 5, we would pull over. And like I was having to get my own water bottles. Like I'd have to get off my bike, go into the RV to get my water bottles.
You were basically losing support.
A lot
Your
of support
was failing you.
And I remember seeing that and it's so hot. And I was coming on like day 6, probably. I don't know. All the days are kind of a blur, but I remember seeing the RV stopped off, because we would kind of frog hop each other. So the RV would stop, I would cycle around them, keep going, and we would just kind of frog hop the whole time. And then on the busier roads, they would stay behind me, like, because we had that big sign that's like caution cyclist ahead for safety reasons. But I still remember this, like I had to have had some form of like heat exhaustion. And they had stopped off at a gas station, and I was like, yes. And granted, at the time, and I'm not, whatever. But this was a work trip. Everybody was getting paid. We were using my personal finances to fund the whole trip. None of the money that we were raising went back into my pockets or funded the trip.
That's right. You funded the whole renting
I funded the whole
RV.
Thing. Everybody was on salary.
Yeah, they were getting paid to do this for you.
They were getting paid. Yeah, and
big bucks
and so
too.
It was I personally financed it, and I remember seeing them. And I think mentally, I was probably this was like it was probably coming towards the end of the day, and they stopped off at a gas station, I was like, yes, I need a Coca-Cola. I need a Snickers. I need some sugar. And, and then up the road we pulled off and they had only gotten themselves snacks. I probably didn't even tell you this. They had just gotten themselves food to eat.
Yeah,
and that's kind of when I started realizing, I think it was that night after a full day of cycling and we stopped off at an RV park that I was like, okay, like what's for dinner? And they were like, oh, we don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, you guys have anything planned? Like, I'm like, can barely stand up at this point. Like, what are we going to eat? And I ended up having to call an Uber to go to the gas station like 5 miles away to pick up groceries and bring him back to the RV and to cook for everybody. And I don't know if it was that night or if it was the next day. But I started losing my team.
Yeah.
I started losing my team.
Yeah.
And I think the next morning, it was kind of like a gradual thing too. And this whole time, like I'm trying to be like, okay, yeah, they're probably just tired of being in this RV. My sweaty stuff is everywhere. Like I probably stink. They're having to, I don't know. But like I always try, even to this day, and I have for the longest time, I always try to, I think it's always important to always see it from every side and not to just be like funneled into seeing it from like one side. And I don't know.
Well, I remember you called me and you started telling me about what was going on, and I'm like, what?
We had to have been in Arkansas at that point.
Yeah, you were getting close. Yeah, you were getting close to Oklahoma.
So at the end of this long cycling trek, my mom and Dan were going to meet me. How far was it? Like 30 miles out?
Probably,
50 miles out?
Yeah, it was about 35 miles out.
And you were going to ride in.
Yeah.
So my mom was planning on meeting me about 35 miles out and then riding in with me the rest of the way. And at this point, I mean, I was ready to pack everything on two things. I had two options at this point. I just wanted to quit was the first one because emotionally and mentally, I didn't think that I could go any further because I had no support. At that point. Like they would just pull over on the side of the road. I'd have to, barely getting off of my bike, riding straight, heat exhaustion for, we were on day like 8, 9 now.
Yeah.
And having to do everything on my own. I didn't think that I could keep going. And I remember I called you and I was like, Mom, I just remember I wanted you to come get me. I either wanted to quit or I told you to come get me that I'm quitting.
You said you were done. You didn't have any support and you were done. And I don't remember exactly what I told you, but I didn't give you an easy out. I was just like, no. You have too many people are supporting you. They're depending on you, and you can do it. You've come this far. You can finish this, and you did. You did it.
Yeah, it was really emotional. I mean, I had
and you suffered physically from that.
Oh, really?
Too.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Really,
you kind of pushed your body beyond what it should have been. Really.
Yeah.
I was worried about you for that.
Yeah, but there was a point where I had it all planned out in my head. I don't know if this was before I called you or not, but I told you, I was like, Mom, I'm going to take my card. I'm going to tell them to just drive back home because they're done.
Yeah.
To drive back home. I'm just going to cycle back. And I think I don't know if it would have been a 2-day journey or what that was looking like, but in my mind, I had decided I would rather go about it alone and be by myself than to be around a group of people who could not help and support the mission,
right?
Who couldn't support the cause. And I think that is so important with all of your, any endeavor, whether it's a bicycle ride from Virginia to Oklahoma, or if it's a fitness journey that you're on to change your life, if you don't have the support, you'll fail. You'll fail.
Yeah.
And I called you. I remember I was crying, and everybody had checked out at that point. It was like, I think that they started going a little bit crazy being inside of an RV all day. And I think they resented the whole project.
Yeah.
I think they resented
started
it.
getting resentful, which I didn't understand. No.
And when I called you and I told you that I was checking out, I mean, I feel like it's basically like the same thing as, it was almost like you yelling at Dad saying, "You will not quit. You will not quit. Ashley Ann, you will not quit."
I didn't say it quite like that. But
No, but I remember
didn't-
you said, you told me, you said, you need to,
Yeah.
you said,
have to
"Where's your
finish it."
team? You need to talk to your team."
I
And they-
actually I asked it. Who did I talk to?
Yeah, you talked
I
to one of
talked-
them because you said, because I called you.
Yeah, I was like, what's
you
going
were
on
like,
here?
yeah, you said, "Mom," or you were like, "Ashley, you got to talk to your team. You need to tell them to straighten up."
Yeah.
Like, do they understand how hot it is outside and like what you're going through?
Yeah.
And then, and I was talking on the phone and then you're like, "Put me on speakerphone."
I remember that.
"Put me on speakerphone, Ashley." And then you were like, "Who am I talking to?" And you're like, "Listen here." I don't know. You were just
I mean,
like,
I was nice about it, but I was like, hey, she's got to have support. I was trying to encourage them too.
But you were direct. You were direct.
Yeah, I was upset about what was going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, they were getting paid to support you, and they were not supporting
but they should just
you.
support it anyways. Like, it should be like a
well,
great
right.
cause
Those
you
people
know.
had been with you long enough.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't understand. But
Right.
anyway, that happens in life. You just, you moved on. You got it finished. You made it to the finish
I
line.
made it to the finish line. I remember I've never been so happy. There's this picture that I have of me seeing you.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I think it was to meet you. It was the final. So we continued on. My mom gave him a pep talk. And, my mom was like, "Listen, you better level up right now or I'm going to come find each and every single one of you and I'm going to hunt you down.
I didn't say that.
I'm going to hunt you down because I'm an alpha female." But, I mean, you did. I think coming from you.
Indirectly, yeah.
Yeah, I think coming from you.
I was just
and you-
concerned, about
I mean, it was
your
really
health.
dangerous.
Yeah,
It was dangerous. And I kept pushing on. And, I held a lot of it inside because I was like, I got to show grace to my team and forgiveness to my team because, like, who knows? Like, it's not like you can set up for a trial period of, like, being in an RV for 12 days or 14 days. Like, you just kind
And
of
know
do
what's
it. And I think
gonna happen,
that they just, like, they hated it. They hated it. And yeah, like after the pep talk, and I started seeing some turnaround. The moment though, the last 10 miles getting to you, and I knew you were there and you had Trip and Cash, and I flew on my bike. I was pulling so hard because I knew that you were there. I knew once I could reach you and have you in my corner and you were there, I was done. I was basically like my mission was complete.
There, almost, yeah.
And pulling into that parking lot, I think it was like the Muskogee High School or something.
It was, yeah.
Somewhere. It was like some big parking lot. I had never been happier.
No.
I had never been happier. And it was also kind of crazy too because like after we got to you and Dan rode and the kids were in the car with, who was in the car driving the kids? Was it a friend?
I don't remember now.
Maybe somebody from the RV jumped out and drove your
Yeah,
car.
I think so. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we, and then it was like all of a sudden they started cheering and ringing the cowbell and supporting. And I mean, it was almost kind of like,
A little late, but we'll take it.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I was like, where were you guys on the Blue Ridge Mountains when my bike almost started rolling backwards because I couldn't get enough trek
Power
up.
to get up.
A little bell ring in there would have been nice, like the cowbell. But needless to say, we finished and we pulled into the parking lot, and
it
I was not
really
expecting.
good.
There were so
There was
many
a lot
people there
of
waiting
people
for
there,
me.
so it was good you didn't give it up,
Yeah.
which I knew you wouldn't.
And it all comes full circle. I mean, seeing you get bucked off your horse and you turned around and you marched yourself, your tiny little 100-pound 412 self out the door to go get back on AP, Ashley's percentage.
Oh.
And encouraging my dad to not give up the fight. And, you know, it was a battle bigger than we could have imagined for my father. Those times and those instances have been branded into me. And even times when I have wanted to give up, legitimately have wanted to give up, I don't.
That's right.
Because of you.
Well, thank you for that.
And hearing your words, especially on that long bike ride, and you're a really good cyclist too. You're doing a lot of road biking then. Hearing your words of, you will not quit, Ashley. You will not quit. It basically put me in check. And it didn't matter if I was going to have to go at it alone. It didn't matter didn't matter how I was going to make it happen. I was going to finish it.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that was 2 years ago.
It's probably been longer than that. Time flies. Probably
Had to have been 2 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago, maybe.
No, not 4. Maybe 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But from that time, even 3 years ago, into now, there's been so many other instances.
There's been a big one that'll be a whole nother story. Yeah.
where I was alone.
That you were alone. That was a tough one. Yeah.
That was a tough one.
But you, look where you are. You know, you don't give up.
Yeah. And we'll save that one for another podcast.
Yeah.
But in that moment is when I channeled everything from you walking into Dad's business in the red, not knowing what to do.
You just never know what little things happen in your life that you can influence your kids.
No.
You know, you just don't.
And I think that's so important, like, as parents. I think everything that I have learned from my mom and my dad, who is no longer with us, I don't remember any, like, verbal lessons that you taught me.
No.
I don't remember anything verbally. I remember seeing things from a distance. And it's not even like, oh, wow, that was a good lesson. I just captured it in my mind.
Right.
And it wasn't until, like, later on, I probably didn't even, like, remember that time until it's like happened, until I got bucked off of Lola and I started running away from Lola and I was like, wait, what would Gigi do? Damn it. Turn around. Where are you, Lola?
Yeah.
Come here, Lola. I'm the boss of you. And, remembering those times like that, I think that you don't realize how much of an influence or an impact that you have on your children.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, even when it comes to, like, fitness and working out, like with my boys, I have never pushed that on them.
Right.
And what has happened this week?
Yeah.
What
Cash.
has happened?
He's
Cash.
gone to the gym with you twice.
Yeah. Like, really into it. He's wanting to eat healthy.
Yeah. He's going to quit sugar. I'm
he
quitting
said
sugar.
3 days. He said he's not going to have sugar.
Yeah.
And none of this. And people are like, "Oh, do you take your kids to the gym with you or like whatever?" I'm like, nope.
They're there just to run around, try to stay out of trouble.
I do not tell them that they
put
have
them
to.
in a workout. Nope.
Sometimes if they get in trouble, I make them run to the bridge and back at home.
Oh, really?
I do. If they get in trouble, I make them take a lap. I got to take a lap, go to the bridge and back.
To the bridge and back?
Yeah, it's like a mile.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I tell them pick up trash on the way.
There you go.
But I think it's important, it's not so much your words, but it's your actions.
Right.
So
Having a strong family. Yeah.
And you probably
being involved with your kids.
Yeah. And you probably didn't realize like how much of an influence
No,
that you've
I
had
really did
on
not.
me.
No.
But
you've told me that before. But
there's been lots of times. There's been lots of times when I feel like the world just, everyone around you, everything just wants you to quit.
Wants you to, yeah.
You stand alone.
Yeah. It's just a lot going on.
What do you think that it is that's like ingrained Do you think it's something that Mimi instilled into you? Like, where does that come
I
from?
just think it's a foundation, your family. I mean, I think it's your parents or a parent, that's involved in your life and encourages you and is consistent and involved.
But
We
you're
really
definitely
had to pay
competitive,
attention.
though.
We had to pay attention to you guys growing up. But that's, as to the influences in your life. And it was challenging to know what was going on and who you were with.
Right. And there wasn't
And
social media or anything then.
No, we didn't
Wasn't like
have
you'd be
that.
like, oh,
which
what's
is-
her Snapchat
Yeah,
update?
man, it's a whole different world now.
Now you have phones where you can track your kids. I'm already tracking mine.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tell them.
Well,
That's
I
why
would have been tracking you if we had that.
Yeah,
but-
I know you would have been. That's why I have Cadman. He can go sniff them out. So we're gonna we're gonna have there were some questions for you that I want to ask you from some of the listeners. So I'm gonna read you these questions.
Okay.
All right, for every episode, we do some listener questions. We hear you. If you want to have your questions answered on the Reborn pod, make sure that you drop us a question below, and hopefully we can get to that answered for you. All right, Mom, what is the best advice you have for any stressed out parents who might be listening right now? Oh, I feel like I'm like stressed out all the time. I know what it is. Can I answer this one for you?
Yes, go ahead. Answer this for me.
Well, you answer it first.
No, you go ahead.
I say drink a Corona. Because we've had a couple Coronas this week.
Yeah. But we haven't been stressed out.
I've been stressed out.
Well, yeah. She's been a little stressed out some days.
Yeah, so what would you say, like, parents are just stressed out?
Well, right now is a really stressful time for everybody.
Yeah.
This is a whole new...
Take them to the woods and just tell them to go run.
Well, yeah. You just, it's the perfect time to be with your family and get them out and do stuff and pay attention to their emotions and, what they're thinking about all this change in our life right now. Because it's not normal. And just to try to just spend more time with them. I think a lot of people are finding, they're getting closer. So there are some positive things about what's been happening here. So you just have to build on that and just try to be a family. Eat together, cook together, go to the park together, hike, do things you guys aren't used to doing together. And it'll probably stick. A lot of it'll stick when this is all over.
This is a good one, I think. How can parents encourage kids to be active and outside in an era ruled by screens?
In an era of what?
Ruled by screens, like video games and stuff.
Oh, well, you just have to shut those things off.
I have found that, like, time limits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Time limits are good. I mean, there's good things about all the electronics and everything, but you just need to have limits. And, of course, it depends on their ages and everything. And don't give in. I tell you, my kids, their famous things of growing up was, well, Sarah is doing it, and her parents are letting her go there, and she can do that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not.
I think it's tough because, like, even
It's
for
hard.
me being a mom, because it's not like you think that there's not a manual for how to parent.
No.
So, and then when you start saying, oh, well, I don't understand why you're getting so upset or like why you're saying no because, Johnny is able to do this. And I always say, you know what? That's fine. Johnny's parents can let Johnny do X, Y, and Z, but I am not Johnny's parent.
You have to be consistent and stick with that. But right now, you just need to, have them put the electronics down.
Yeah.
And
Time limits.
Yeah, some time limits and interact. Get them to help you cook, help you do stuff outside in your own yard and do things. You'll get a lot of pushback, but you do it kindly and, just say, this is what we're doing today. So trying to listen to them too and ask them questions. I know a lot of kids aren't talking about, they don't really know what's going on. Mm-hmm. It depends on their ages.
So here's one. I'm interested in hearing what your mom's exercise routine looks like and how she's adapted with age. I'm pushing 50 and things are changing. Help! It's so discouraging. So, how do you for fitness, how have you adapted, a lifestyle, or how have you changed with just everything?
Well, I think I was always very active. I would rather split wood and plant a garden rather than mop floors and clean the bathroom. So I liked
outside.
I've
I'm
always
the same way.
been an outside person.
Physical.
Yeah, physical. And so I think in my late 30s, I was always the same size. And my jeans started getting tighter, and I'm like, what's going on here? Of course, we didn't eat really healthy back then because that wasn't a big thing. But then when the kids started in competitive soccer, and then I started going to the gym a little bit, and I started reading a little bit more about how muscle. I remember reading this. If you can build some muscle, your metabolism starts revving up more, and you can start burning calories while you're sleeping. And I'm like, oh, while I'm sleeping, I can burn calories? I like that. And I just remember that. And so you have to start, us gals, we have to start at an earlier age. It's a lifestyle change. And I didn't change my eating habits at that time because it wasn't such a prominent thing like it is now, and I'm glad we have. But I became more physical, a little bit more physical, and started training a little bit. And so you just have to start doing things that are comfortable for you. And the hardest thing is eating and your food, and with a family and
Right.
you work.
Because you have, everybody likes everything different. You have
Yes. And with my kids, we didn't play that game. You ate what was on your
She's
plate.
basically talking about me because I'm a sucker, especially for auto. Mom,
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like,
Yeah.
getting better.
Yeah.
It is tough.
It is hard,
Because especially at the end of the day, whenever you're just
you're
like,
so tired. You have to plan
yeah,
ahead.
you're like, I'm not
You
ready to
need
battle this.
Yeah, and I know you hear this from Ashley. Diet is a bigger role in how you want to look. It's a bigger role in how you feel and how your life is going to be easier and better. So I know you get all this from Ashley. You have to just plan ahead. And I'm guilty too. If I don't have something figured out or good stuff in the refrigerator, I if there's bad stuff,
Chips and salsa.
Oh my gosh, yeah, chips and salsa, maybe a Corona, and then I'm not hungry for dinner,
Yeah.
and so that's terrible. So it's a lifestyle change. I never encourage diets. It's you have to figure out what you can eat and what works with your family because they need to be on
Like
board.
a fad diet because everybody jumps on these
I know
bandwagons.
the keto, paleo. I've just never been a fan of doing
Yeah,
that.
'cause
Your
you
body
have to-
has to have
Yep.
a balance, and plus you mentally, financially, you have to have a balance of what you can do. So it's mainly prepping, and once you get that figured out, it's easier than you think, and you actually save money because you're not stopping. My favorite thing I say to new people when I'm working out with them or trying to get them to lose some weight, I'm like, if there's a drive-through, you drive by. You do not go through the drive-through because they don't have healthy food typically, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
So planning and get your family involved in helping you to plan the meals.
Again, it's the support.
It's the support.
Yeah.
Because
Everything comes back to support.
Yeah, and you're actually instilling good things in them. They may go off to college and they get fat a little bit, they go a little wild, but if they have a good
Right.
foundation,
Right.
like I did, I got a little crazy in college, and fortunately I met Ashley's dad, and he kind of settled me down a little bit, and a good foundation is good. It's important because, like, Ashley brings back these things that I don't really realize the influence that I had on her life. So you do play a big role. And eating, try to train your kids now, because in eating, they'll fight you on it. But
I battle with my kids every day.
yeah, she does. And she has all the good
And
healthy stuff.
my mom's like, why are you letting him just get away with it? I'm like, Mom, I don't know. Sit down, Otto.
Yeah.
Or go to your room.
Mom, I can handle this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to be quiet. So you want to teach them now to have good healthy eating habits, but you are in control. I feel really
We don't
strongly
have, like,
that the
soda
mom
or
has
anything in our
control.
house.
Right, and we grew up that way.
Yeah, we don't have
didn't
any.
Have
we have
pop in our house.
Every once in a while we'll have Oreos, but because we don't have them
When
in
Gigi
our house,
comes, they buy me double stuffed Oreos. I eat them all up because I don't really
I think
buy
because
them
we
at
don't
home.
have any of those things in our house. Like whenever I do get Oreos or like some sort of, even like
You'll
popsicles
go
or
off
something.
the reservation a bit.
Not me.
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
But I stop.
But even
I mean,
the
that's
kids
why I don't
do.
have them
Like
in the
I
house.
like the Oreos will be gone in a day, and I'm like, and they're like, well, Mom, it's because you never have them in the house, so we gotta they just inhale
Eat 'em
it.
before
But
they're gone.
I think a good relationship with food is also key. Like
Very
I don't want
much.
the kids to be like, no, you can't have like these certain sweets.
No, and you
But
can't
it's a
deprive
balance. It
yourself
all-
about that either.
right,
Yeah,
it all comes back to a
yeah,
balance.
and I don't believe in cheat days. I just
I do.
Yeah, she does, and that's okay. She can get away with it, but I don't.
But you just eat. I actually don't have a cheat
right.
day.
And as you get
When
older,
I was competing, I had a cheat day.
Yeah.
Now it's like if I want to eat like a handful of M&Ms, I eat a handful of M&Ms.
yeah,
If I want to
you've
go
really
down
balanced
to
it
American
out.
Brew and eat one of those strawberry coconut
I saw
scones
those this morning
that I
yeah.
see right now, I'll go have a scone.
Yeah. But back to the question about as you get older. I mean, start paying attention in your late 30s, because our hormones start changing, and you can still be on the same track as you were, like I was, and then my body started changing a little bit, and I didn't like that, and so I just started exercising more. At that time, I was not eating healthier, but that is a big key. And nowadays, you don't really have excuses not to eat healthy.
Right.
Because And you want your kids to be healthy, because what they say now is the younger they are, they're starting to, get overweight. And then as they get older, they start getting diabetes. So, your kids, you have control over your kids' future.
Yeah. It's just putting in the time and the effort.
Yeah, it's time, and they're going to push
Staying
back.
on top of it.
And you stay, and you kind of start teaching them young. And you don't force them, but you just encourage them.
Yeah. All right, last question. What experiences inspired your mom to live an active lifestyle and be that beacon that influenced you to do the same?
Well, I was kind of born that way a little bit, I think, because I was just a tomboy, and I was really active.
Were you afraid that I was going to get made fun of? Because, I was
No,
pretty
you were
athletic.
small. She was pretty small, though.
But
She
you were
was short.
small?
Yeah, but
But
you
were
were
you afraid
small.
that I was going to get made fun of for being, like, buff? I was pretty athletic and muscular growing up.
Right, but no, because
You weren't worried about that? Times were starting to
not
change?
really. Yeah, and I got teased a little bit growing up just with my calf muscles, but no, not really. What was the question?
What, like,
This happens when you get older too. What was that question?
What experiences inspired your mom, you, to live an active lifestyle and to be that beacon that influenced me to do the same? I don't know if I got into health and fitness for sure. I know for me, like watching you make those changes, like the milk, changing the milk with my dad
Yeah.
and like switching over to skim milk. I remember being like, healthy. What does that mean? And watching you in the aerobics room, like working out, and then being like,
Well,
What is
actually,
this?
yes.
So for me, it was seeing you make those changes.
Well,
That's
and
kind
I
of
started
what-
making some of those changes for their dad somewhat, because when I would start running, he wouldn't run.
Oh, yeah.
And I got him to where he would jog a little bit at the little park where we lived, and go to town and go jog. And he always said, I will never like this, but I'm going to do it because I know it's healthy, and I'm going to do it with you. So you can encourage, your family
Right.
to do things with you
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But I think watching them get more active, playing competitively, we just all and it was a lifestyle. We didn't live in the city, we lived out in the country.
That's why I really want to find some land out here, so I can have a baby goat.
Don't go there. Anyway, so
well, I think that wraps it. I just want to say thank you to my mom for being on the Reborn podcast. It wasn't that bad, was it?
No, and I just want to add this. She is very encouraging to me. She amazes me all the time. I still don't always grasp the influence that she has on people. And I'm just very proud of her.
Aw, thanks, Mom. I didn't ask for this life.
I know.
But it just kind of happened.
You kind of got thrown into it a little bit.
I did.
But you took the bull by the horns,
I
and
did.
you have done a lot of awesome things and a lot more to come.
There's a saying that you don't wish for a different hand of cards. You play the hell out of the hand that you have.
Right.
That's what I do. There's a lot of great things that I've been able to experience and do, but there's been a lot of heartbreaking things that I have had to go through.
Well, like you've said a lot of times, that helps develop your character.
Yeah.
Is how you deal with it when you're down and how you deal with those challenging, hard hands you're dealt.
And I think that once you go through those things, there's always going to be another mountain waiting for you to climb. Always. Always. You can beat one mountain, you can beat it, and it's not going to be the last mountain. And what I found is as I conquer these mountains, my confidence, even though I don't know what lies ahead, my confidence grows. Because if I was able to get through one thing, if I was able to navigate through that dark space, I'm not afraid of what lies ahead. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's some things that my mom knows that I've gone through that we have not talked about, that I'll probably talk about it. Hard things. Some hard things. But even during those moments, I have channeled my mom. I've learned about the lessons that my father has taught me. And that has been the only thing. Because at any moment I could have quit. I could have given up. I could have quit life. Legitimately quit life. And it's in those moments that I've remembered my mom. It's in those moments that I've thought about my dad and the stories that, how he fought, how my mom fought for my dad, that I pressed onward. And I think that as parents, you don't realize how big of an influence that you're having on your children's lives. And it's not by verbally speaking to them. That is important. It is important to have conversations with your kids. But what's more important is to lead by example, to let them watch. And my hope is that my boys who are growing and who are starting to understand, I think, a little bit about the depths of the things that I do and some of the things that I go through and have gone through, I hope that I can continue to be a beacon of light and hope. And I want them to understand, if they live for the love of humanity and compassion, and if everything that they do is driven by heart and it is fueled by just, passion, I want them to remember that. And that's how I want them to go out and to conquer life. And just how my parents have taught me. And it just kind of keeps going. And hopefully I can leave that legacy to them, just like my parents left the legacy for me. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Reborn podcast. Make sure that you subscribe, and comment below. And again, if you have any questions at all that you would like answered online, here live at the Reborn podcast, make sure you ask the question below. We did not get to our listeners' homework this segment, so please stay tuned for the next podcast, as we will probably give you a double to catch up on your homework. My name is Ashley Horner, and I am joined with my mom, aka Gigi, the strongest, the best warrior grandma Gigi there is. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. We are out.